Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Charlotte and this is Charlotteshelves, and in today's video I'm talking about something very different, and my reading taste has been forcibly changed in the last few weeks, and I wanted to share why that was and also some sort of changes for the next couple of months that will be coming to my channel. I think a gentle trigger warning for this video would be that there will be some discussion regarding mental health, and if that is content that is not currently suitable for you, absolutely feel free to click off this video. If you are new here, you will know that my three loves really are classics, horror books and thrillers maybe. And at the moment I cannot read any of those really. And this is because I was recently diagnosed with PTSD. This was caused by my current career line, and there are a wealth of symptoms that are going on right now. And it means that I cannot read anything that is violent, anything that contains the usual trigger warnings. I cannot read anything that is kind of intense, anything true crimey, anything where people are hurt or violence against women and girls. I have had to really rethink about what is on my TBR right now because I'm really trying to work on healing my brain. But I also find why people read the books they choose fascinating. It's so much of the content of booktube and book talk that I watch. I want to know what people are reading and why, and I'm going to have a slight shift over the next couple of months in what I'm reading, but I'm going to be picking some books that I'm hoping will help heal my brain a little bit for what I'm going through. One of the main symptoms that I noticed in the build up to being diagnosed with PTSD was that my ability to focus was damaged. I could not focus in the same way. I could not process information as quickly or as effortlessly as I used to do, and I found in the last few months I've been picking shorter and shorter books because I've been struggling to read and stay focused, and that wasn't something that I realised could also be symptomatic of what else was going on in my brain. So I've been leaning away from more difficult reads, things that are more cerebral and highbrow, and not leaning into reading a lot of classics recently. And then I've also realised that I cannot currently also read a lot of the horrors and the thrillers that I love because my brain is very easily agitated right now. And I wanted to share this with you. I don't want this to be a sad or somber video because I'm hopeful and believe that books can offer some of the most powerfully transformative reading experiences. And when you are feeling sad and not so well, books can offer that escapism that perhaps we really need some days. And I still want to be able to read, but it means that I need to make some adjustments. So I hope that today's video still retains some sort of optimism, but I fundamentally need to recalibrate what I'm reading. And I wanted to share some books that I had got with you because I still want to enjoy my favourite hobby. And I went to the library. I've picked up a couple of books, both on Kindle and physical copies, but I'm trying to pick up some lighter reads that are going to help me still love reading and provide me with some comfort and support for what I'm going through. If you are new here, I am Charlotte and I do upload weekly content on my channel that is bookish related. This is a bit of a pivot from what I normally upload, but my taste is changing for a bit, and let's see where this takes us. Before I show you the books that I've got to read, I'm just going to show you the state of my TBR right now because you'll understand why I cannot read what is on my TBR at the moment once you see what I'm working with. Current TBR sitch is quite a few Stephen Kings, which we cannot be reading horror right now. True crime, can't read this, too triggering at the moment. Ted Bundy reimagining, kind of true crimey, but also lit fic. Read, I think Cormac McCarthy is just going to be a bit too much. Gorgeous anthology of romantic poetry here. It's too highbrow, too much work for my brain at the moment. Violence against women and girls and incel culture, the concentration camps, 3 more horrors here. Death, dystopian one, a cult. So I hope that gives you a flavour of what and why I can't read certain books right now. It has been a really surprising and painful process to go through. I love horror movies, as many of you know, and documentaries and true crime documentaries, and throughout all of October I couldn't watch any. It was triggering PTSD symptoms and flashbacks and things that I've been going through, and it was too much, and I had to keep testing my boundaries a little bit to see if it was okay to watch them now 2 days later, if it was okay to try and read something a bit scary 3 or 4 days later. And my body and my brain were giving me these really violent red flags and warning signs to really steer away from anything, and I had to try and navigate that at first because I'm very stubborn, and so much of what I love, like I said, is lit fic, horror and thrillers, and that is throughout my taste in books, movies, podcasts, exhibitions, things that I love in my daily life, and I've had to really drastically reframe the content that I consume, and also in terms of news and social media too. So moving forward, I have picked 3 books that are non-fiction that I think are going to help my brain and understand more of what I'm going through. And then I have picked I think 6 or 7 non-fiction books that are going to be lighter, more friendly reads, and then a couple of rogue choices that you might tell me if they are suitable or not for me. But I just wanted to share those with you. So the 3 books that I am starting with are, let me grab them. The first book I got from the library, and it's called A Breath of Fresh Air, How to Feel Good All Year Round. This is more like a very gentle mindfulness type book with beautiful images of the British countryside. It's made and curated by the National Trust, and it seemed like a gentle but supportive read. It doesn't specifically treat any particular medical condition or health issue, but I thought this would be something gentle to escape into as I'm trying to find some practices and techniques to help support what I'm going through. This book will inspire you to think differently, try new things, and fully embrace each season. Pause and wonder at bluebells in spring or the stillness of snow in winter. Reach out and make a friend or a stranger with a thank you, a gesture, or a smile. From cloud spotting to meditating in a meadow, running on the beach or dozing in a deck chair, spark a joy in your life by being outdoors and living every moment in the here and now. The next book I have is on Kindle. I will read you the title because it is quite long. The Traumatic Stress Recovery Workbook, 40 brain-changing techniques you can use right now to treat symptoms of PTSD and start feeling better. This is created as being a practical, more prescriptive workbook with exercises and things that can help you if you are going through depression or PTSD. It says that trauma and neuroscience expert Jennifer Sweeten provides 40 brain-changing techniques for overcoming PTSD, build resilience, confidence, and develop self-efficacy. You can learn what happens with your brain after experiencing trauma and why it reacts in ways that cause more distress. You will learn evidence-based strategies grounding in cutting-edge neuroscience to manage psychological, physical, or somatic symptoms so you can get back to your life. It also states by following and practicing some of the exercises and techniques within it, you'll be able to sort of carve out these new neural pathways that will help heal or jumpstart your healing process, I think was the phrasing they used. The next book, which is one I purchased recently, you have probably seen or heard of this in some sort of capacity. It's very famous. It sold millions of copies. This was recommended to me by a physical therapist that I'd seen and also a counsellor, and they said it was really valuable for understanding the physical effects of trauma on the body, but also the types of available treatment, and the mental really affects the physical. This is The Body Keeps the Score, Mind, Brain and Body in the Transformation of Trauma. This is probably, I think it's about 10 years old now, but it's meant to be referred to as the Bible for understanding trauma. This is quoted as saying, the effects of trauma can be devastating for sufferers, their families and future generations, and one of the world's experts on traumatic stress offers a bold new paradigm for treatment, moving away from the standard talking and drug therapies towards an alternative approach that heals the mind, brain and body. I have started reading this. I think the writing style is really, lovely is probably the wrong word, but it's so easy to read, and he's explaining a very complicated subject matter very accessibly, which I appreciate with the state of my concentration abilities right now. And I will say this is a tiny bit of a triggering read, because whenever he gives an example about a part of the brain that he's explaining, or a practice or a type of therapy, he will give an example from someone he has treated. Next, I have some more fun books that I'm hoping will be more lighthearted and mean that I can still read for the next couple of months or for however long I am dealing with this. And I just wanted to share those with you. The first book I have is Orbital by Samantha Harvey. This is told from the perspective of 6 astronauts who are currently on the International Space Station, and they are looking down on the Earth, and the plot is kind of told through their different narratives, and they're looking down on Earth in all her fragility and beauty, and it's meant to be quite slow-paced and meditative. One of the things that drew me to this was that it was described as a stunning and uplifting book, which is kind of what I need right now. It's described as luminous and gorgeous, and it also won the Booker Prize. And I have read the first few pages and I didn't find it too heavy or dry or It's literary fiction, but it was very easy to read basically, and litfic is kind of what I'm avoiding at the moment if it's going to really pull on my brain. When Harvey won the Booker for this, because I was looking at some of the reviews, it was quoted as saying, this book reflects Harvey's extraordinary intensity of attention to the precious and precarious world we share. The next book I have here is a collection of short stories by a comedian that I used to really love when I was a lot younger. This is Josie Long's Because I Don't Know What You Mean and What You Don't. When I was a student, I was quite obsessed with Josie Long and Robin Ince's podcast, Utter Shambles. And she is also I think BBC radio broadcaster too, but this is her first collection of short stories. I also think that cover is really great. If you can, the light will stop glaring. Her comedy style is quite offbeat, and also what attracted me to this is these are described as full of hope and heart, so you can see the theme that is kind of coming through some of these books. It's also described as a joy, so I'm hoping that there will be some fun within these short stories. This is described on Storygraph as being a quirky, hopeful set of fiction that finds wonder in everyday absurdities, the quiet magic of ordinary lives. Perfect if you enjoy reflective short stories with offbeat humour, gentle pacing, and the bittersweet ache of modern connection over plot-heavy narratives. The next book that I have is actually one I purchased, and it's a really nice special edition. It's kind of dark academia, sci-fi fantasy. I'm not sure if it's going to be triggering or too heavy, but bear with me. If you've read this, let me know what you think without spoilers. It is Catarsis by R.F. Kuang. I find her writing style gloriously easy to read, even though this is, I think, technically kind of literary fiction as well. I have seen lots of people talking about this, and it is a bit of a hype book, I think, at the moment. This has just come out. I got my copy in Oxford when I visited Blackwell's the other week, and it's stunning. You know me, if you've seen me review any books before, I just love black and gold. And the quote on the back says, "Alice Law, you naughty girl, you're trying to go to hell." The blurb briefly says, Alice Law has only ever had one goal, to become one of the brightest minds in the field of magic. She has sacrificed everything to make that a reality, all to work with Professor Jacob Grimes at Cambridge, the greatest magician in the world, that is, until he dies in a magical accident, possibly her fault. Grimes is now in hell, and she is going in after him, because his recommendation could hold her very future in his now incorporeal hands, and even death is not going to stop the pursuit of her dreams, nor will the fact that her rival, Peter Murdoch, has come to the same conclusion. I am hoping this won't be too cerebral or highbrow for my little frazzled brain to get through. It is about, how many pages? Well, it's over 500 pages, but I'm hoping this will be really entertaining. I think it will be quite a nice fantasy escapist option if it's not too hard or triggering. I hope you don't mind me reading some of the blurbs from the very book sites that they're harvested on. Normally I try to do a bit more research or write my own kind of little summary, and I just don't have the capacity right now, so please grant me some grace. The next book I have on that note was a book that was gifted to me by my best friend, and this is The World of Tim Burton. I went to this particular exhibition last year, and this book was there, and I just thought it was too much money, and a friend gave it to me for my 5-year Soberversary, which is ridiculously generous and kind of her. I very much love and enjoy Tim Burton's artwork and also his films. The exhibition focused, although it did focus on the filmic qualities, it had so much original artwork from sketchbooks and paintings and separate pieces outside of the world of cinema, and that is also what is curated in here too. The exhibition also had a lot of examples of early work that I would never have had the opportunity to see. It also has some more iconic characters. You might recognise a few faces, but it's also got a selection of essays and the curator's notes and things like that in here that I think are really helpful to understanding the artwork. This is such a gorgeous book. I cannot wait to relive sort of the experience of going to that exhibition and also be able to keep this forever. The paper quality is also lovely, and some of you might think this is barbaric, but I would love to cut out some of the images because they would make such beautiful prints. I wouldn't do it for a double spread obviously, but there's a couple of like his sort of pen and ink drawings like this one that I would just love to very neatly cut and put in a frame. The next book I have is a very easy, entirely mindless, cozy chick lit type novel. And I don't read a lot of chick lit, but when I do, and when I was younger I used to really love Sophie Kinsella. She's quite famous here in England for the Shopaholic series, and this is meant to be joyful. There's quite a few blurbs from other chick lit writers saying that this is full of mirth, and it is joyful, left me giddy with laughter. I love having the opportunity to escape in a book like this. It puts a smile on your face. So this is some young 20-something. She goes home to her parents' address, or rather goes home without them knowing she's there. She wants to collect something from the house, I can't remember what, and they're having a party that she's not invited to. I think she's not on great terms with them, and while she's at this party she bumps into her ex and then other family members, and some sort of chaos unfolds. It's meant to be silly and frothy and light-hearted, and I thought that would be quite a good tonic potentially to what I normally read. The next book from the library I got was this, Make Me Famous by Maud Ventura. She wrote a book called My Husband that came out a couple of years ago, which was delicious. It had a very weird twisty ending that felt a bit of a sting at the time, and I remember not enjoying that ending, but when I look back on it, the rest of the book was so phenomenal. And actually, when a book isn't narratively satisfying, I do appreciate that originality. So when this has just come out in the last year or so, this is a really nice hardback edition, and I wanted to pick this up because this is her second book, and I believe this is about I think a singer, and it's about her sort of quest for fame, and she will become famous but do, I think, a lot of terrible things along the way to get there. So it's kind of about ambition and greed, but also the nature of fame. I think it's also meant to be a tiny bit satirical about the concept of celebrity and things like that. One of the reviews I had read for this said that this character was quite ruthless in her pursuits, which is fascinating to me. I'm hoping it won't be triggering or like scary in any particular way. I think it's going to be a slightly lighter drama. Her other book that I've read wasn't heavy going or depressing in any sense. I also saw a review that described this as quite an addictive and thrilling read, so I'm looking forward to being quite lightly entertained but still a little bit titillated and thrilled. And this is just some contemporary literary fiction that I don't believe will be too hard for me to read. If you've read this, let me know what you thought. The next book that I have recently purchased, Poems and Prayers by Matthew McConaughey. This has only come out recently, and it's meant to be some gentle reflections on faith and belief, and I find modern spirituality quite fascinating, especially as I'm getting older, and I like reading other people's interpretations about how faith impacts their life and things like that at a really sort of basic and reductionist level. And I love poetry, and I thought this might be a less highbrow but still compelling book to read. Some people have also described it as having quite a few moments of levity but also hilarity, so I'm hoping that it will be a non-triggering piece of non-fiction that I can enjoy. I also quite enjoy memoir as a genre, especially when that intersects with something quite intimate when it comes to our own personal beliefs or faith and our own personal philosophies. And I think this book straddles quite a few of those subjects that I think will be really appealing to me right now. So it took me a few weeks and a beat or two to realise quite how my tastes and things were perhaps not supporting my brain at this time. And I'm hopeful that with the books that I have chosen for the next couple of months, that these are going to make me feel a lot better and also help provide some much needed escapism. If you have made it this far, thank you. Oh my word, thank you so much for watching, spending some time with me today. I appreciate this, a very different tone and type of video, and if you have any recommendations for books that are the equivalent of a mug of hot chocolate or something else that is sickeningly sweet that will still be enjoyable and easy for me to read but still have some plot, please do leave those recommendations, because I'm desperately in need of books that aren't my usual caliber or flavour of reading. So if you have any that you can recommend to me, I will be so deeply appreciative. If you haven't already, please do like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Happy reading.